Okay, two of the types of wood decay that we recognize is based upon the chemistry of the fungus that's involved in terms of the degradation or the breakdown of the two major components of woody plant cells, and that is the cellulose and the lignin component. If the lignin is degraded first, it leaves behind kind of a bleached appearance in the wood, which is primarily exposing the cellulose. Lignin is a brownish compound in color, and as a result, as the fungus degrades the lignin, the brownish color disappears, leaving behind the lighter color or almost white color of the cellulose. And if we look down to this log here, this is an example of a white rot. It also shows very nicely how well decayed this particular log is and how good a particular wood decay fungus can decay a log. This point is almost back to nutrient recycling stage in the cycle. And if we take a pull back here and look, you can see how light colored that wood is. And that gives a very good indication that the lignin component has been removed, and this would be described as a white rotter or caused by a white rot fungus. Give you an idea of how much this wood has been degraded in terms of its structural strength. You can just simply take this wood and it'll crumble apart in your hand. You can see that the next stage is going to be almost like incorporation into the soil, becoming a very important organic component of the soil. This is also a rich substrate for many insects and also small animals as well. Okay, here's an example of a brown rot, or the rot caused by a brown rot fungus. And as you can see, compared to a white rot, the difference in color, for example. In the case of brown rot, we have a situation where the fungi responsible are producing enzymes that break down the cellulose and leave behind the lignin component, which is this reddish brown or dark brown color. As it turns out, both of these are very important in the recycling system within a forest. In the case of brown rot, and we find that most decay that occurs on conifers is a brown rot type of decay. It is very common for this to be an excellent source for retention of water, which provides then a very nice substrate for plants to grow in, and especially trees for some reason. And this is a very good case in point. Here you can see where the roots of a nearby tree, a very small tree, has permeated through this brown rot piece of wood, producing not only the large lateral roots or perennial roots, but also the small feeder roots. Here's an example of brown rot in a pine log. It's laying on the ground, and as I remove this material here, you can see the brown discoloration that is caused by the breakdown of the cellulose, leaving the lignin component behind. This particular log does show another function for these decayed logs, and that is what we call a nurse log or a nursery log. And in many instances, the wood is decayed to a point where the seeds of certain trees will fall in there and germinate, and you'll get a nice group of seedlings coming up in here. This particular case, obviously a maple seed had fallen in here, and we have a small maple seedling develop. Chances are that will develop into a tree. The roots will go down into this log itself and eventually into the soil. Now, in contrast, if we look at this brown rot and compare it to the white rot, we can see the difference. Remember, in the case of a white rot, the lignin component of the woody plant cell walls is removed, leaving behind basically cellulose, which eventually is broken down, but initially removal of the brown compound lignin will cause this bleach-like appearance, whereas in contrast, a brown decay or brown rot, the cellulose, the white component, is removed, leaving this dark component, the lignin, primarily behind. Lignin is a very tough substance. It is full of polyphenols. It is quite resistant to breakdown. Eventually it is broken down, but these logs will often remain, at least in part, in the soil, providing some very nice sites for water retention, which allows roots and, as you can see here, perhaps small seedlings to come up, acting as a nurse log.